Good day everyone. Today we're going to discuss about the Module 2. First, let's read the course description. Ecological Framework of Sustainable Development, Pollution Environment, Water, Air, and Solid Waste Treatment Processes, Disposal and Management, Government Legislation, Rules and Regulation related to the Environment and Waste Management and Environmental Management System. So first, we have environmental pollution. Any undesirable change in the physical, chemical, or biological characteristics of any component of the environment, such as air, water, and soil, which can cause harmful effects on various forms of life and property. So, for an explanation on this statement, environmental pollution is something that is formed, or the contaminants that are formed through the process of degradation. So, we have prerequisite discussions. Pollution is derived from the Latin word polluere, which means to contaminate any features of environment. Next, pollution occurs only when short-term economic gains are made at the cost of long-term ecological benefits of humanity. So this means that when people chooses to do or perform the things that would benefit them only for a short period of time. For example, sa pagputol ng puno. Alam naman natin na yung puno nagbibigay sa atin ng shade, oxygen, etc. And it has many uses too. And di ba nga, the lesser the trees, mas prone tayo sa pollution and different kinds of hazards. So, next, we have the soil. Soil is a natural resource for which there is no substitute. Environmental historian Donald Worster reminds us that fertilizers are not a substitute for a fertile soil. A fertile soil contains natural elements, kaya naman mas mabilis siyang magpataba ng mga pananim at iba pa. However, yung mga fertilizers na ginagamit natin sa mga hindi gaanong magagandang uri na lupa, though yung fertilizers nakakatulong siya sa paglago ng mga pananim, pero marami na siyang hayop mga kanimal. Unlike dun sa fertile soil, na mismo, it is a natural element na yung mismo nagpapataba dun sa mga pananim. So, moving on, extremely dry or cold climates develop soils very slowly, while humid and warm climate develop them more rapidly. So, sabi dito, the organic portion, which is derived from the decayed remains of plants and animals, is concentrated in the dark uppermost topsoil. So the ones that we consider topsoil are those remains of the animals and the discarded vegetables and plants. So sa inorganic portion naman, which is made up of rock fragments, it is formed through the process of physical weathering and chemical weathering of bedrocks. Next, pollution may be local, regional, transboundary, or global. The agent which causes pollution is called pollutant. So, hindi lang naman nade-develop dito sa lugar na ito yung pollution. Pollution is everywhere because yung mga tao ay nagpo-produce and nagpo-consume at the same time. We don't lingid sa kaalaman natin na nakaka-create tayo ng pollution. Nakaka-create tayo ng pollution sometimes without knowing it. So, we have the concepts of pollutants. Pollutants can be classified as degradable or non-persistent pollutants. This can be rapidly broken by natural process. Example, domestic sewage, discarded vegetables, etc. This can be rapidly broken because they can be easily deformed. May mga pollutants na nag-deform and nag-break for even just 2 to 3 days in here. Meron din namang mas matagal. So, next, slowly degradable or persistent pollutants. So, ito na yung mga pollutants na talagang katagalan kung ma-degrade and ma-break. So, This remain in the environment for many years in an unchanged condition and takes decades or longer to degrade. So, for example, sa mga plastic bottles, sometimes inaabot ng decades or more para unti-unti silang maligate. Pero, mostly, hindi talaga sila nabubulok. Third is non-degradable pollutants. This cannot be degraded by natural process. So, earlier, na-discuss natin yung degradable or the non-persistent, the slowly degradable or the persistent, which undergoes a natural process. Yung dalawang yan, nag-undergo sila natural process. However, itong non-degradable pollutants, hindi applicable sa kanya yung natural process. So, for example, we have toxic elements like lead or mercury and nuclear wastes. So, we have 7 types of environmental pollution. First, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, marine pollution, noise pollution, thermal pollution, and nuclear hazards. So, moving on to the air pollution. Air pollution occurs due to the presence of undesirable solid or gaseous particles in the air or quantities that are harmful to human health and environment. Pollution, nabubuo na siya kapag naghalo-halo na yung iba't ibang substances or gaseous forms, particles na nasa air. These combinations of different substances may turn out to be harmful for human health and also for the environment. So, pollutants that are emitted directly from identifiable sources are produced by natural events, can be in the form of particulate matter or gaseous form. These are called primary pollutants. I will mention the different natural events that forms the primary pollutants. Examples: dust storms and volcanic eruptions, and through human activities like emission chemicals, industries, etc. So, yung mga nilalabas na usok mula sa mga factories, pwede din yun. And lalo sa mga vehicles, lalo yung mga may itim na usok na nagmumula sa mga sasakyan, sa mga tricycle. So, we have 5 primary pollutants that contributes to the 90% of global air pollution. First, carbon oxides. Second, nitrogen oxide. Third, sulfur oxides. Fourth, volatile organic compounds. And 5, suspended particulate matter. The pollutants that are produced in the atmosphere when a chemical reaction takes place among the primary pollutants, it is called secondary pollutants. So since yung mga pollutants natin and the different gaseous waste or gaseous air pollution are trapped on our atmosphere, when a chemical reaction takes place, they might combine and they might form a secondary pollutant. So, for example, an example of secondary pollutant are sulfuric acid, nitric acid, carbonic acid, and acid rain. So, we have here causes of air pollution. First, air pollution may originate from one or more sources. So, hindi lang iisa yung source ng air pollution. Ay, gaya nga ng mga sinabi kong examples kanina, we have from factories, smoke emission from vehicles, and etc. So, the natural pollution includes sources such as oceanic aerosol, volcanic eruptions, or volcanic emissions, biogenic sources, wind-blown terrestrial dusts, and lightning. Second, artificial pollution generates from human activities such as fuel burning, refuge burning, transportation, constructions of building, chemical factories, metallurgical factories, and vehicles. So yung mga examples na nabanggit ko are what contributes to the artificial pollution. Third, the third category includes solvent usage, and sources includes spray painting, and solvent extraction. So, automobiles are also considered as the first rate of polluters. Other topics will be discussed by my group mates. Thank you for listening.
Lahat atin naman talakayin ang iba't ibang epekto ng air pollution. Effect on human health, effect on plants, effect on materials, and effect on stratosphere. Una natin talakayin is yung effect on human health. They can even lead to person's death. Health effect from air pollution include heart disease, lung cancer, and respiratory diseases, such as emphysema. Air pollution can also cause long-term damage to people's nerves, brain, kidney, liver, and other organs. Pangalawa is yung effect on plant growth at pagkasira at pagkutuyo ng dahon. Pangatlo is yung effect on materials. Air pollution break down the exterior paint on cars and houses. Pang-apat is yung effect on stratosphere. For example, sa pagsunog ng mga basura katulad ng plastic, goma at iba pa. Ang usok ay napupunta sa ozone layer. Ito ang nagiging dahilan ng pagkasira nito. Dako naman tayo sa formation of smog. Smog is a kind of air pollution originally named for mixture of smoke and fog in the air. Classic smog is the result from large amount of coal burning in an area and is caused by mixture of smoke and sulfur dioxide. Two types of smog. Sulfurous smog, which is also called London smog, results from the high concentration of sulfur oxide in the air and caused by the use of sulfur bearings, fossils, fuels, particularly coal. Number 2 is photochemical smog, which is also known as Los Angeles smog. Occurs most prominent in urban areas that have large number of automobiles. Wait lang. Formation of oxygen. Oxygen is one of the most abundant chemical elements on Earth. Oxygen can be produced from a number of materials using several different methods. The most common natural method is photosynthesis, in which plants use sunlight to convert carbon dioxide in the air oxygen. This upsets the representation process in which animals convert oxygen in the air back into carbon dioxide. Oxygen was discovered about 1772 by a Swedish chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele, who obtained by heating potassium nitrate, mercury oxide, and may other substances. Lastly is yung control of particular gaseous emission. What is gaseous emission? Exhaust gas or flue gas are emitted as a result of combustion fuels such as natural gas. What is flue gas? Is the gas existing to the atmosphere by a flue, which is pipe or channel for conveying exhaust gases from a fireplace, over furnace, boiler, or steam generator. Flue gas treatment, a process designed to reduce the amount of pollutant emitted from the burning of fossil fuel or industrial facility or power plant.
Emissions control of NOx and sulfur dioxide. NOx emission can be reduced by primary methods such as retard injection, fuel nozzle modification, change of compression ratio, water direct injection, water emulsification, exhaust gas recirculation or EGR, and secondary methods such as selective catalytic reduction SCR. The sulfur dioxide emissions are controlled using a spray dryer absorber (SDA) fuel gas desulfurization system. During the SDA process, hot fuel gas with entrained coal fly ash passes through large reaction chambers where a mixture of recycled fly ash, SDA product slurry, and lime water slurry, calcium hydroxide, is sprayed and atomized. The calcium hydroxide in the atomized slurry reacts with the sulfur dioxide in the fuel gas to produce calcium sulfate and calcium sulfite. The hot fuel gas evaporates the slurry and cools to produce a dry particulate material composed of calcium sulfite, and unreacted calcium oxide, lime. This dry SDA product and fly ash is then captured in the particulate emission control system baghouse. A significant portion of the collected fly ash and SDA product is conveyed back to the SDA and used in slurry preparation in order to enhance performance. The remaining baghouse collected fly ash and SDA product is either recycled off-site for beneficial uses, block manufacturing, or disposed of in on-site monofill. Mitigation procedures. Number one, pre-disaster mitigation can help in ensuring faster recovery from the impacts of disasters. Mitigation measures must ensure protection of the natural and cultural assets of the community. Hazard reduction methods must take into account the various hazards faced by the affected community and their desires and priorities. Number four, any mitigation program must also ensure an effective partnership between the government, scientific, private sector, NGOs, and the community. The main elements of mitigation strategy. Number one, risk assessment and vulnerability analysis. This involves the identification of hotspot areas of prime concern, collection of information on past natural hazards, information on the population and infrastructure. Number two, applied research and technology transfer. There is a need to establish or upgrade observation equipment and network monitor the networks monitor the hazardous property, improve the quality of forecasting and warning. Public awareness and training. Training to be given to official and staff of various departments involved in the state and district level. Institutional mechanisms. This is need to emphasize on proactive and pre-disaster measures rather than post-disaster response. It is thus essential to have a permanent administrative structure which can control the development activities across departments and provide suggestions for necessary mitigation measures. The National Disaster Management Center, NDMC, can perform such a task. Professionals like architects, structural engineers, doctors, and chemical engineers who are involved with the management of hazardous chemicals can be asked to form groups that can design specific mitigation measures. Number five, incentives and resource for mitigation. Provide a stable source of funding for all mitigation programs. Number six, land use planning and regulation. Hazard resistant design and construction. Number eight, structural and constructional reinforcement of existing building. This can be done by the insertion of walls, especially on shored frames, construction of new frame system, designing residential electrical equipment above food level, designing water storage tanks to be able to withstand cyclonic winds, earthquakes, and floods.
Today is all about water pollution. What is water pollution? Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies like lakes, rivers, aquifers, and oceans, very often by human activities. It occurs when pollutants, particle, chemical, or substance that make water contaminate, are discharged directly or indirectly into water bodies without enough treatment to get rid of harmful compounds. Source of water pollution. Point. Pollutants that belong to a single source. An example of this would be emissions from factories into the water. Non-point. Pollutants emitted from multiple sources. Contaminated water after rains that has traveled through several regions may also be considered as a non-point source of pollution. Types of water pollution. Nutrients pollution.
Some wastewater, fertilizer, and sewage contains high level of nutrients. If they end up in water bodies, they encourage algae and weed growth in the water. This will make the water undrinkable and even clog filters. Too much algae will also use up all the oxygen in the water, and other water organisms in the water will die out of oxygen starvation. Surface water pollution. Surface water includes natural water found on the Earth's surface like rivers, lakes, lagoons, and oceans. Hazardous substances coming into contact with this surface water, dissolving or mixing physically with the water, can be called surface water pollution. Oxygen depleting. Water bodies have microorganisms. These include aerobic and anaerobic organisms. With too much biodegradable matter, things that easily decay, end up in water, it encourages more microorganism growth and they use up more oxygen in the water. If oxygen is depleted, aerobic organisms die and anaerobic organisms grow more to produce harmful toxins such as ammonia and sulfides. Groundwater pollution. When humans apply pesticides and chemicals to soil, they are washed deep into the ground by rainwater. This gets too much underground water, causing pollution underground. This means when we dig wells and boreholes to get water from underground, it needs to be refined. Microbiological. In many communities in the world, people drink untreated water, straight from river or stream. Sometimes there is natural pollution caused by microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, and protozoa. This natural pollution can cause species and other water life to die. They can also cause serious illness to humans who drink from such waters. Suspended matter. Some pollutants, substance, particle, and chemical, do not easily dissolve in water. This kind of material is called particulate matter. Some suspended pollutants later settle under the water body. This can harm and even kill aquatic life that live at the floor of water bodies. Chemical water pollution. Many industries and farmers work with chemicals that end up in water. This is common with point source pollution. This includes chemicals that are used to control weeds, insects, and pests. Metal and solvent from industries can pollute water bodies. These are poisonous to many forms of aquatic life and may slow their development, make them infertile, and kill them. Oil spillage. Oil spillage usually have only localized effect on wildlife but can spread for miles. The oil can cause the death to many fish and get stuck to the feathers of seabirds, causing them to lose their ability. Other causes of water pollution. Sewage and wastewater. Sewage is the term used for wastewater that often contains feces, urine, and laundry waste. The sewage and wastewater that is produced by each household is chemically treated and released into the sea with freshwater sewage. The sewage water is carries harmful bacteria and chemicals that can cause serious health problems. Pathogens are known as a common water pollutant. Mining activities. Mining is the process of crushing the rock and extracting coal and other minerals from underground. This element, when extracted in the raw form, contains harmful chemical and can increase the amount of toxic element. When mixed up with water, may result in health problems. Ocean and marine dumping. Again, think of the rubbish we all make each day. Paper, waste, food waste, plastic, rubber, and metallic and aluminum waste. In some countries, they are deposited into the air, into the sea. Underground storage and tube leakage. Many liquid products, petroleum products, are stored in metal and steel tubes underground. Other sewage systems run in underground tubes over time. They rust and begin to leak. If that happens, they contaminate the soils and the liquid in them end up in many nearby water bodies. Effects of water pollution. Death of aquatic water animals. The main problem caused by water pollution is that it kills life that depends on these water bodies. Dead fish, crabs, birds, and seagulls, dolphins, and many other animals often live up on beaches, killed by pollutants in their habitats, living environment. Disruption of food chains. Pollution disrupt the natural food chain as well. Pollutants such as leads and cadmium are eaten by tiny animals. Later, these animals are consumed by fish and shellfish, and the food chain continues to be disrupted at all levels. Disease. Eventually, humans are affected by this process as well. People can get disease such as hepatitis by eating seafood that has been poisoned. In many poor nations, there is always outbreak of cholera and disease as a result of poor drinking water treatment from contaminated water. Destruction of ecosystem. Ecosystem, the interaction of the living things in a place depending on each other for life, can severely change and destroy by water pollution. Many areas are now being affected by careless human pollution, and this pollution is coming back to hurt human in many ways. Prevention of water pollution. Dealing with water pollution is something that everyone, including government and local councils, need to get involved with. Here are the few things you can do to help. Never throw rubbish away anyhow. Always look for the correct waste bin. If there is none around, please take it home and put in your trash can. Use water wisely. Do not keep the tap running when not is used. Also, you can reduce the amount of water you use in washing and bathing. If we all do this, we can significantly prevent water shortage. Do not throw chemicals, oils, paints, and medicines down the sink drain or the toilet. In many cities, your local environment office can help with the disposal of medicine and chemical. Do not buy more environmental safe cleaning liquids for use at home and other public places. If you use chemicals and pesticide for your gardening and farms, be mindful not to overuse pesticides and fertilizer. Stop muna. Control measures of water pollution. Setting up the effluent treatment plants to treat wastewater can reduce the pollution load in the recipient water. The treated effluent can be reused either for gardening or cooling purposes or wherever possible. Root zone process has been developed by Thermax by running contaminated water through the root zone of specially designed red beds. These have the capacity to absorb from the surrounding air through their stomata opening. It creates O2, rich condition where bacteria and fungi oxidize the waste, providing sanitation and wastewater treatment facility. Integrated nutrient management and integrated pest management practices will reduce the effects caused due to excess pesticides.
Water is essential to the maintenance of all life. It constitutes 80% or more by weight of active protoplasm. This is the most efficient of all solvents and carries in solution the necessary gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, as well as the mineral substance necessary to the high growth of plants and animals, and itself one of the essential raw material in the manufacture of food by plants. Organisms living in the terrestrial environment have devised means, such as impervious integuments to conserve water, and the land plants have roots and special vascular system for transport of water to all growing parts. In the marine environment, there is freedom from desiccation except at high tide levels, and therefore no highly specialized means are provided for conservation of water or for its transport in plants. Also of biological importance are the high heat capacity of water and its high latent heat of evaporation, both of which obviate the danger that may result from rapid change of temperature in the environmental medium. Owing to the high degree of transparency of water, it is possible for the sea to sustain plant life throughout a relatively deep layer. And in animals, the development of organs of vision and of orientation has progressed to a marked degree. Seawater is a vapor solution that is changes from acid to alkaline condition or vice versa are resisted. This property is vital importance to the marine organism, mainly for two reasons. An abundant supply of carbon can be available in the form of carbon dioxide for the use of plants in the synthesis of carbohydrates without disturbance to the animal life that may be sensitive to small change in pH, and in the slightly alkaline habitat. The many organisms that construct shell of calcium carbonate or other calcium salt can carry on this function much more efficiently than in neutral solution. The support offered to the bodies of marine organisms by the specific gravity of the surrounding medium obviates the need of special supporting skeletal structure in many forms. Striking examples of these are the jellyfishes, unarmed mollusks, and armed dinoflagellates, and even the large marine mammals with their heavy skeletons, which could not survive in their present bulky state except in an aquatic habitat. The hard shells of crabs, clams, snails, and so on doubtless serve as support, especially in some burrowing and intertidal forms. But these hard parts may be looked upon also as protective and as a framework for attachment of muscles used in digging, creeping, or swimming.
Physical and chemical characteristic of terrestrial water. Aquatic organisms in the physical and chemical components of their environment are inseparable, interrelated, and interact with other. Flow and water chemistry are the primary factors governing life in marine habitats, and both are closely related to seasonal variations. This is especially true for monsoon rivers such as the Mekong. Meron ditong 6 physical and chemical characteristic of aquatic ecosystem. Una is oxygen. Dissolved oxygen is a basic requirement for a healthy aquatic ecosystem. The amount of oxygen available for aquatic life depends on the factors that affect how it dissolves in water. Mixing of water allows exchanges of oxygen with the air. In the absence of adequate mixing oxygen levels in deep systems such as a reservoir can become reduced, including the formation of layers of differing oxygen concentration. Next po is temperature. Affects the solubility of many chemical compounds, can therefore influence the effect of pollutants on aquatic life. Increased temperature increase the amount of oxygen organisms require. Human sources of pollutant can impact water temperature tulad ng industrial influence, agriculture, forest harvesting, urban developments, and mining. Susunod po is alkalinity and acidity, are important characteristic of water that affects its suitability for biota and influence chemical reactions. The ability of withstand changes in acidity or alkalinity, a buffering agent, is a related factor. Many biological processes, such as reproduction, cannot in water with the incorrect acidic or alkaline properties. Next is light. Is necessary for photosynthesis and is often a defining feature when describing habitat. The largest influence that light has on aquatic ecosystem and its influence on plant growth. Shade is also important in determining the nature of habitats. Stratum, substratum, is the organic and inorganic material that make up the bed of a river, stream, or lake, and etc. The impact of substrate on aquatic biota depends on substrate, particle size, organic content, and interaction with other environmental factors. Biodiversity and abundance of organisms tend to increase with substrate stability. Variation in substrate promote biodiversity. Next is water velocity. Represent perhaps a major environmental factor affecting the biota of running waters. So is physical factor. Next po is discuss natin yung physical factor according to the season. The actual chemical composition of stream and river water depends on the interplay of several variables that are unique to each river catchment and even to the tributary subcatchments. This includes climate, the amount, distribution, and initial chemical composition of precipitation, and its nearest coastal regions and to industry. Then, the nature of the surrounding catchment and movement of water from the catchment to the river related to topography, geology, soils, and vegetation, and the contribution of groundwater. And the distance from headwaters and the seasons of ebb time of day and timing of the last rainfall and the influence of human activity and land use in a catchment such as agriculture, forestry, and urbanization. Increased nutrients concentration are the serious and well-known consequence of a greater human presence and changing land uses within the watersheds. Agriculture increased nutrient levels due to fertilizers and animals' waste, and also by increasing soil erosion. Municipal waste and fertilizer are significant nutrient source from urban areas. Large amount of organic and organic materials can be washed into rivers and transport long distances. Inorganic suspended solid originate from terrestrial sources through soil disturbance followed by heavy rain and subsequent bank erosion. The significance of suspended solids relates largely to the effects on light penetration into the water and to the nature of substrate. The nature of suspended and dissolved materials conveys optical properties that can be used to classify water. Sina dito ang black water. Black water is a poor and dissolved organic and a suspended solid, but dissolved organic matter produce a reddish-brown color. These are typically acidic. and white water. White water has a high levels of suspended solids with a muddy or silty appearance as well as high levels of dissolved organic solids tending to base alkaline. Last, clear water varies in acidity and has little suspended material. Then, discuss natin yung pollution. Pollution can be defined as the release of harmful materials typically generate through human activity, including industry, domestic, and agricultural waste in the receiving environment. Point: source pollution is discharged in the system through a single source. Diffuse source pollution is mainly the result of agricultural and forestry activities, although it can also occur where there is small-scale mining over a large area. Aquatic ecosystems undergo constant change and adaptation. It can withstand stress based on their unique physical, chemical, and biological properties. Ecosystem may become unbalanced because of man-made factors. Each species of animals and plant has an optimal range for physical and chemical requirements. Outside this range, organisms face increased stress and eventually die, even when all physical and chemical characteristics of environment fall within durable limits. Production of species can be influenced by various combinations of factors. These different combinations explain the ecological variety that makes each stream unique. The interpretation of these factors requires an integrated approach and an understanding of the interdependent nature of biological system over time and space. Next po na i-discuss ko is water quality parameters. Ang water quality parameters, it is a measure of the condition of water related relative to the requirements of one more biotic species and or to any human need or purpose. It is frequently used by reference to set standards against which compliance can be assessed. The most common standard used to assess water quality related to health, ecosystem, safety, human contact, and drinking water. Ito ginagamit din ito, tinetest nila kung pwede bang inumin yung tubig, kung safe sa tao. The setting of standards, agency make political and technical scientific decisions about how the water will be used. In the case of natural water bodies, they also make some reasonable estimate of pristine condition. Different uses raise different concerns, and therefore different standards are considered. Natural water bodies will vary in response to environmental conditions. Environmental scientists work to understand how these systems function, which in turn helps to identify the sources and fates of contaminants. Environmental lawyers and policymakers work to define legislation with the intention of water maintained at an appropriate quality for its identified use. The vast majority of surface water on the planet is neither potable nor toxic. This remains true when seawater in the oceans is not counted. Another general perception of water quality is that a simple property that tells whether water is polluted or not. In fact, water quality is a complex subject, in part because water is a complex medium intrinsically tied to the ecology of the earth. Industrial and commercial activities like example manufacturing, mining, construction, transport are the major cause of water pollution as of runoff, agricultural areas, urban runoff, and discharge of treated and untreated sewage. Next po is water treatment. Water treatment is collectively an industrial scale process that makes water more acceptable for end use, which may be drinking industry or medicine. Water treatment is unlike small-scale water sterilization that campers and other people in wilderness areas practice. Water treatment should remove existing water contaminants, also reduce the concentration that the water becomes fit for it decide, which may use returning use water for the environment. The proper process involved in treating water for drinking purposes may be solid separation using physical process such as settling and filtration, and chemical process such as in disinfection and coagulation. Biological processes are employed in the treatment of wastewater. This process may include, for example, irrigated lagons, activated sludge or slow sand filters.
Ang soil pollution ay ang introduction ng substances, biological organisms, or energy papasok sa lupa. Nagreresulta ito ng pagbabago sa kalidad ng lupa at kadalasang nakakaapekto sa normal na gamit nito o nag-e-endanger ng public health and living environment. So ano nga ba yung mga causes ng soil pollution? Isa dito yung soil erosion. It is a naturally occurring process that affects all landforms. In agriculture, soil erosion refers to the wearing away of a field's topsoil by the natural physical forces of water, wind, or two forces associated with farming activities such as tillage. So, topsoil, ito yung upper layer ng land. It is high in organic matter, fertility, and soil life. So kapag nasira ang topsoil, wala na siyang kakayahang maka-absorb ng nutrients. Nawawalan na din siya ng kakayahang magpatubo ng halaman o puno. Makikita natin yung pagkakrak o pagtatry ng lupa. Nahaharap ngayon sa krisis ang lupa at nagiging sanhi ito ng tuluyang pagkasira nito. Sumunod naman ay yung soil contaminants. Common contaminants in urban soils include pesticides, petroleum products, and lead. In urban areas, soil contamination is largely caused by human activities. Some examples are manufacturing, industrial dumping, land development, local waste, excessive pesticides or fertilizers. And last is the excess use of irrigation water. So kagaya nung sa definition kanina, soil pollution is the introduction of substances. Water is a substance. Ano ba yung mga epekto ng soil pollution? Isa dito yung food shortage. Dahil nga polluted ang lupa, nababawasan ng pagtataniman ng mga magsasaka at nagre-resulta ito ng pagkunti ng produksyon. Desertification. Dahil nga wala ng nutrients ang lupa, wala na din kakayahang tumubo ang mga halaman o puno. Pero merong mga exceptional plants na kayang tumubo sa ganitong kalagayan. Decrease in the extent of agricultural land. Kagaya nung kanina, nababawasan yung maaring pagtaniman ng mga magsasaka. Topsoil erosion. Kapag may pollution na maaring maging sanhi ng tubig, ang unang naapektuhan ay ang topsoil, since ito yung upper layer ng land. Excess use of irrigation leads to waterlogging and soil salinization. Salinization is the process of increasing the salt content. Control measures. Proper soil conservation measures to minimize the loss of topsoil. Meron tayong techniques for soil conservation. Isa dito ay ang crop rotation. It is the practice of growing a series of different types of crops in the same area across a sequence of growing seasons. It, it reduces reliance on one set of nutrients, pest, and weed pressure, and the probability of developing resistant pests and weeds. Next is the cover crops. In agriculture, cover crops are plants that are planted to cover the soil rather than for the purpose of being harvested. Cover crops manage soil erosion, soil fertility, soil quality, water, weeds, pests, diseases, biodiversity, and wildlife in an agro ecosystem. It is an ecological system managed and shaped by humans. Then we have the conservation tillage. It is the agricultural preparation of soil by mechanical agitation of various types, such as digging, steering, and overturning. And last is the planted windbreaks. It is a planting usually made up of one or more rows of trees or shrubs planted in such a manner as to provide shelter from the wind to protect soil from erosion. Solid waste management. The combined effects of population explosion and changing modern living standards have had a cumulative effect in the generation of a large amount of various types of waste. So habang lumalaki ang populasyon at patuloy ang pagbabago ng pamumuhay ng tao, patuloy din ang paglaki at pagdami ng mga uri ng basura natin. Kung noon ay balat lang ng prutas o gulay ang mga basura natin, ngayon nagkakaroon na tayo ng variety ng solid waste. Mahalaga na pangkatin o pagsamahin natin ang parehong uri ng mga basura at paghiwalayin ang magkaibang uri. Nang sa ganun ay ma-minimize natin yung effect ng solid waste. So ano ba yung solid waste? Any material that is thrown away or discarded as unwanted is considered as solid waste. So ano yung mga iba't ibang uri o types ng solid waste natin? Una is yung garbage or food waste, or the decomposable or yung mga nabubulok. Second, yung rubbish. Mostly dry materials such as glass, paper, cloth, or wood. Third is the agricultural waste. It is defined as unwanted waste produced as a result of agricultural activities. Example, yung manure, oil, silage, plastics, fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. Fourth is industrial waste. It is defined as waste generated by manufacturing or industrial processes. And yung last, yung hazardous waste. Waste that has substantial or potential threats to public health or the environment. Meron tong apat na classification. Una yung ignitability or something that is flammable. Next is yung corrosivity or something that can rust or decompose. Then the reactivity, something explosive. And last yung toxicity or something that is poisonous. Causes. One is overpopulation. Dahil marami nga ang demand, marami ang consumption, marami ang production, madami din yung basura na produce. Next is affluence or wealth. Yung mga mayayaman, they buy unnecessary things. They run industries, manufacturers na maaari din mag-cause ng hazardous waste. Last yung technology. Effects. One is health hazards. These are the chemical, physical, or biological factors in our environment that can have negative impacts on our short or long-term health. Exposure can occur through touch, inhalation, or ingestion. Environmental impact. It is defined as any change to the environment, whether adverse or beneficial, resulting from a facility's activities, products, or services. Control measures. Solid waste management include the waste generation, collection of solid waste, disposal of solid waste, landfill, disposal of municipal waste in the upper layers of the Earth's mantle, incineration, burn highly combustible wastes at very high temperature, composting or biodegradation, decompose the organic components of the municipal solid waste, waste utilization, reuse, recycle, reclamation. Significance of solid waste management. In communities where appropriate sites are available, sanitary landfills usually provide the most economical option for disposal of non-recyclable refuse. However, it is becoming increasingly difficult to find sites that offer adequate capacity, accessibility, and environmental conditions. Landfills will always play a key role in solid waste management. It is not possible to recycle all components of solid waste, and there will always be residues from incineration and other treatment processes that will eventually require disposal underground. Landfills can actually improve poor quality land. In some communities, properly completed landfills are converted into recreational parks, playground, or golf courses. Marine pollution. It is defined as the introduction of substances to the marine environment directly or indirectly by man, resulting in adverse effects such as hazardous to human health, obstruction of marine activities, and lowering the quality of seawater. What are the sources of marine pollution? Municipal waste and sewage from residences and hotel and coastal towns. So familiar naman tayo sa issue ng Boracay. Pesticides and fertilizers from agriculture. So define natin yung marine pollution as a combination of chemicals and trash, most of which comes from land sources, and it is washed or blown into the ocean. Petroleum and oil washed off from roads enter sewage system, and finally into seas. Sewage is the wastewater that flows down drains and through pipes from toilets and sinks. Although sewage treatment facilities are designed to accommodate and treat sewage from their service areas, partly treated or even untreated sewage sometimes is discharged. Ship accidents and accidental spillage. Offshore oil exploration also pollute the seawater to a large extent. Dry docking. Pollution due to organic waste. Pollution due to oil. Tanker accidents. Volcanic eruptions in the sea and deep mining. Effects of marine pollution. A large amount of organic waste can also result in the development of red tide. These are the phytoplankton blooms, because of which the whole area is discolored. Commercially important marine species are also killed due to clogging of gills and other structures. For salt marshy plants can affect the flowering, fruiting, and germination. The coral reefs are the productive ecosystems. It offers many benefits to people. These coral reefs are threatened by the sediments from deforestation carried by the runoffs. Drill cutting dumped on the seabed result in the production of toxic sulfides in the bottom sediments, thus eliminating benthic fauna. Control measures of marine pollution. Introduction of sewage treatment plants to reduce biochemical oxygen demand of final product before discharging into sea. Cleaning oil from surface waters and contaminated beaches can be accelerated through the use of chemical dispersants, which can be sprayed on the oil. Load on top system reduces oil pollution, cleaned with high pressure jets of water. Crude oil washing. The clingage is removed by jets of crude oil while the cargo is being unloaded.
So, ang itatakal ko sa inyo ngayon is about noise pollution. First, what is sound? Sound is mechanical energy from a vibrating source. So, sound is a vibration that can be delivered through air, liquid, or solid. Unpleasant and unwanted sound is called noise. Ito yung mga hindi naman ka aya-aya na tunog or sound that can be harmful to our hearing is called noise. So, punta naman tayo sa kanilang sounds in their decibel scale. First, what is decibel? Decibel is a unit of measurement of a sound that human can hear. It is used for weighing or measuring a sound. Second, a weighted decibels. It is used to describe sound based on what human ears can actually hear. So, ginagamit ito upang ma-identify kung hanggang saan yung kayang ma-adapt ng human hearing. Sounds at or below 70 decibels are generally considered safe. Any sound at or above 85 decibel is more likely to damage your hearing. So, punta naman tayo sa mga example ng sounds and their decibel scale. First is rocket engine, jet plane takeoff, threshold of pain, record music, construction works, newspaper press, motorcycle. Ito yung mga example na madalas nating naka-encounter sa labasan na pwedeng makadamage sa ating human hearing. Next is ordinary conversation, air conditioning unit or light traffic, normal living room, library or soft whisper, threshold of hearing. Ito naman yung mga madalas din nating na-encounter naman na mako-consider natin as safe to our human hearing. Sources of noise pollution. First is industrial units. Under dito yung machinery, 90 decibels. Construction, 100 decibels. Vehicles, 90 decibels. Transportation modes, under dito yung car horn, 110 decibels. Construction activities, under dito yung mga ginagamit na machine ng mga construction workers, 100 decibels. Celebrations, under naman dito yung mga parties or concert, 120 decibels to 130 decibels. Electric home appliances, under naman dito yung alarm clock, 65 decibels, vacuum, 80 decibels. Fridge is 40 decibels. So, ito yung mga main sources of noise pollution. Next is effects of noise pollution. First is interferes communication. Background noise can have profound impact to the effectiveness of communication in several different ways. So, pwedeng hindi tayo magkarinigan or hindi tayo magkaintindihan na nagkakos ko ng stress and anxiety, hindi lamang sa nakikinig kundi sa nagsasalita. Hearing damage, 90 decibels. So, about sa tinakal ko kanina, na kapag lumagpas sa 85 decibels ay pwede na maging harmful sa human hearing. Physiological and psychological disorders. So, hearing is a primary warning sense. So, regular exposure to consistent elevated sound levels can cause hearing impairment, hypertension, heart disease, annoyance, and sleep disturbance. So, yung madalas daw na exposure sa maingay na environment ay pwedeng makapekto sa ating health tulad ng sakit sa puso at hypertension. Next is control of noise pollution. First is reduction in source of noise. So, kung may mga gamit tayo, kaya naman mga appliances na nagkakos ng noise na hindi naman natin talaga kailangan, so pwede natin itong patayin. Noise-making machines should be kept in containers with sound-absorbing media. So, kung may mga machines na tayo na nagkakos ng ingay, pwede natin itong ilagay sa container upang mabawasan yung impact ng sound sa ating human hearing. Next is proper oiling will reduce noise from machinery. So, proper oiling in machines is important para mag-function ng maayos yung machines and mabawasan yung ingay nito. Next is planting trees. So, pwede tayong mag-time ng mga puno upang mabawasan yung impact ng unpleasant sound sa ating human hearing. Next is legislation can prevent excess sound production, unnecessary horn blowing, and etc. So, pwede daw tayong gumawa ng mga rules o kaya naman law upang ma-prevent yung mga unnecessary sounds na napoproduce ng iba't ibang mga bagay. This is thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the degradation of water quality by any process that increases the ambient of water temperature. The increase in temperature decreases the dissolved oxygen or oxygen supply and affects ecosystem composition. So, Ang thermal pollution daw is process siya na nakapagpabago ng temperature ng tubig. Na kapag nagbago-bago yung temperature ng tubig, pwede itong bawas ng oxygen o kaya oxygen supply na pwedeng maka-apekto sa mga marine organisms, and it can be harmful to their environment. So next is the causes. First is nuclear power plants. Power plants affect the environment in myriad ways. For example, both nuclear and fossil fuel plants produce significant thermal pollution to bodies of water. So, ang ibig sabihin lang ito is improper waste disposal ng mga power plants na pwedeng maka-apekto sa bodies of water tsaka sa mga marine organisms. Next is domestic sewage. It contains toxic materials and industrial effluents. Waste normally has a higher temperature than receiving water. Increase in temperature of the receiving water decreases the dissolved oxygen of water. So, ibig sabihin lang ito, nagko-contain daw ito ng mga toxics, tsaka mga solid waste like plastic litters, tsaka mga bagay na may mga bacteria contaminants na pwedeng maka-apekto sa bodies of water tsaka sa mga marine organisms. Next is hydroelectric power. One of the biggest sources of thermal pollution is water. In water comes from the electric power plants, where water passes through the condenser and returns to the environment as an altered temperature. So, yung hydroelectric power plants daw ay yung pinaka main sources ng thermal pollution. So, kasi kapag katapos gamitin yung tubig ng electric power plants, nire-release nila to sa environment ng mas mataas yung temperature. At pagdating nito sa environment water, binabago nito yung temperature ng environment water na nakakapag-decrease ng oxygen supply na pwede rin maka-apekto sa mga marine organisms. So, next is the effects. Reduction in dissolved oxygen. Warm or cold temperature of water decreases the dissolved of oxygen. So, based sa mga tinakal natin kanina, na kapag nagbabago yung temperature ng tubig, nakapagbawas to ng oxygen supply. Next is increase in toxicity. Concentrated pollutant causes the rise in the temperature of water, which increases the toxicity of the poison present in water. The toxicity in water will increase the death rate in marine life. So, sabi rin kanina na any kind of pollution ay nagkakos ng pagbabago ng temperature ng water na pwedeng maging toxic or poisonous para sa mga marine life. Next is direct mortality. Increased death rate in marine life. So, ayun nga, tumataas yung pagkamatay ng mga marine organisms. Next is control measures. Cooling towers and cooling fans. Limit the amount of heat dissipated to the natural water environment. So, ang gamit ng cooling towers and cooling fans ay para mabawasan yung heat or yung taas ng temperature na i-release ng isang, for example, power plants o kaya naman electric power plants sa ating water environment. Is nuclear hazards or radioactive pollution. The physical pollution of air, water, and soil by radioactive materials are called nuclear pollution. So, radioactive materials released in the environment, then the energy released can be harmful if anybody exposed to it. It can directly kill cells, and it can affect mutations to the DNA. If those mutations are not repaired, the cell may turn cancerous. So, next is the causes. Natural causes. First is solar rays. Extreme weather events like heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and heavy precipitation can change ultraviolet. For example, increased UV light can damage fish eggs, larvae, and plankton DNA. Next is radionuclides in rich crust. Radioactive elements turn into another element, releasing radiation in the process. So, nagiging harmful to sa ating environment because sa process naglalabas ng radiation, and alam natin na radiation is harmful to any living things. Next is environmental radiation. It is defined as the increase in the natural radiation levels caused by human activities. Radioactive material decay released in the environment and harm everybody that is exposed to it. So next is anthropogenic causes. Medical X-rays. It releases radiation that hits upper atmosphere and it produces a shower of cosmic rays that expose everything on Earth. Some heat gases in the air and change into radioactive material. So we all know that radioactive material is dangerous to any living things. Next is radioisotopes. When radioisotopes is used in nuclear medicine, it can damage tissues leading to skin burns, diseases like leukemia and lung cancer. Next is nuclear test. Radioactivity is known to damage cells in humans, animals, and plants by causing changes in their genes. So next is the effects of radioactive pollution. It causes skin burns, loss of teeth, vomiting, anemia, blood cancer, and brain damage. Next is control measures. Radiation exposure protection, time, distance, and shielding. So kung pwede natin limitahan yung time na meron tayo na na-expose tayo sa radiation, limitahan natin. Next is distance. Kung pwedeng medyo lumayo tayo dun sa mga bagay na na-expose o nag-release ng radiation, limitahan natin yung distance na meron tayo. Next is shielding. Kung hindi naman natin kailangan lumabas, manatili tayo sa mga bahay-bahay natin upang mabawasan yung pag-expose sa radiation. Next is radiation contamination protection. Wear protective clothing like clothes, toe shoes, and covering of their skin such as arm and legs. So, pwede tayo magsuot ng mga like clothes, toe shoes, saka mga nakakover yung skin natin para maiwasan yung skin burn. Next is controlled area. Use any method or equipment to reduce of exposing radiation. So, pwede tayong gumamit ng mga equipments or any methods upang ma-prevent natin yung exposure natin sa radiation.
So, ito yung mga example na pwede natin gawin as an individual to prevent pollution. First is use stairs instead of elevators to conserve energy. Conserving energy has a big role to lessen many kinds of pollution. Next is use public transportation, walk or ride a bicycle instead of using vehicle to lessen the carbon dioxide which produced by vehicles. Next is plant trees around building to lessen carbon dioxide that causes air pollution and produce oxygen. Next is turn off lights, television sets, and computer when not in use to conserve electric energy. Next is install waste-saving equipments, recycle glass, metal, and paper, compost garden waste, segregate waste, and recycle. So, ito yung mga method of proper waste disposal that lessen the exposure of any toxic materials that can cause pollution. Next is buy locally made long-lasting material. So, buy long-lasting materials to lessen the production of some power plants or fabrics because power plants and fabrics releases waste that can cause pollution. Next is buy environmentally degradable products. So buy eco-friendly products instead of plastics to help ecosystem. Next is take some bag from home to market to purchase. So use eco-friendly bags when going to the market to avoid using plastic bags. Because plastic is one of the major reason of pollution.